Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So I've been playing with making my own stencils from home, and I thought I'd do a bit of an experimentation with different kinds of materials to make them with. So if you want to see what I found, then just keep watching. Okay, so we're going to start today in Design Space, which is where we need to start to make the stencils that we're going to use. So we're going to go up here to New Project. Now what I've already done is I've purchased these files off of Etsy. I will link them down below so you can check them out, and I'm trying to remember who it is. I'll remember it as soon as I have a look in here. Folktale Co. There are so many stencil companies on YouTube, like companies that make these kind of stencil files on Etsy. Seriously, so easy to find. Just type in, I put in stencil cut file, so it's really easy for you to find. But then you can just pick whichever pattern sort of jumps out at you. So I picked these three. I've got a wave, a chevron, and a checkerboard. So I'm going to do the chevron first. So I'm going to use the SVG file because that should be the easiest one for Design Space. But if you don't have the SVG file, if you only get like a JPEG or something like that, you can use that as well. So go into upload and then upload image, and I can go browse. I'm just going to go into downloads, and I'm going to do the chevron one, SVG file, click that and go open, and it'll put the file in for me. Then because it's already an SVG, and this is where the bonus of an SVG is, you don't have to do any of the deleting of the background or anything. I can just go save, and there's my cut file. Very, very simple. So go insert image, and that's now on my background. So I'm going to make this one into a 6x6 kind of stencil, which is about 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. So I'm going to change that size up here in the Cricut. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to go make it. That's really as simple as this is. And then we're going to go continue. I'm going to connect up the Cricut. And we're going to cut this out twice because I want to show you on two different types of material. One I'm really comfortable with, which is acetate. This is where I've been making most of my stencils so far. But I also recently got some of the Cricut Stencil vinyl, and I don't know what that's about, so I want to try that one as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut those two out, and I'll be right back. So I've got my two stencils cut out. I had to use a bit of tape to hold this one down because this particular mat isn't doing so well. All I'm going to do now is go ahead and sort of, when I say weed this, like get rid of all the excess stuff that I don't need. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated because it's obviously got to pull out all the bits. Although I did deliberately pick out the stencil that would be the easiest to show on camera for you guys so that it wasn't so complicated or so long and annoying, because honestly, there's the stencil. It did have a little bit of trouble going through the Cricut. There is a little bit of damage just to the top and the bottom, which I'm kind of annoyed about, but I can always recut it. I guess that's the bonus of doing them yourselves. You can cut it out. I'm not going to clean that off just yet. I'll do it a little bit later. And then with the stencil vinyl, so I'll just pull that off. And we'll just weed this as well. I'm just taking off my backing tape. And then all I'm going to do is just show you guys sort of on a bit of paper. I'll show you how they work and if they work and if it's been, which one I would recommend. That's sort of where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to cut off the excess because I definitely don't need this other little bit. And I can use that for another project. So I'm going to take off the negative space, so the bit that's not the stencil. And that way I could technically put the stencil back on if I wanted to. Whoops, didn't cut right there, okay. I think there was some tape there, so I'll allow that as my boo-boo. It's also on the outside, so it doesn't matter so much. There was some tape right on that edging there. Okay, so I've learnt something. Put tape further up. So I'm just going to cut. Because it's on a straight line anyway, it's actually really easy to see, so I'm just going to cut that bit. And we'll go ahead and this one is sort of more weeding, so thankfully most of the bits are these long chevron bits, so that makes it very easy to pull out. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull these out and I'll be right back. Alright, so something I've just noticed, well not noticed, but if you're a bit more careful with these, you could use these as negative space stencils if you wanted to. I was obviously a bit rough when I was pulling them off, so probably hasn't worked so well, but anyway. Alright, so when it comes to using stencils with like the acetate one, there's obviously nothing sticky here. So there's nothing holding down my edges or my middle bits to kind of make this stay still. I can obviously hold down the edges with some washi tape, so that's really simple. So what I'm going to do is try and do it just that way, and then if it doesn't work, I'll show you another way that I have been doing it that I don't like as much because it leaves a residue, but it does solve the problem. So I'm just getting a little bit of washi. I'm just going to use that to hold my paper down first because I don't want that to wiggle. Apparently I can't talk. And then I'm also going to stick the stencil down as well. Now I cut that out using the standard grip mats. I have in the past with my other ones been using the strong grip, and I thought I'd give the standard grip a try. In hindsight, I shouldn't have done that because I think that's why some of these have come up. So I would highly recommend using the strong grip or the fabric grip if you're going to do this as opposed to the standard grip. But because I've already done it, I'm just going to go with it. So I've just grabbed an ink out. Any ink is fine. I'm just using this as an example. And we're just going to ink this up. I'm just going to give it a shot and see how we go. So I'm just going to start somewhere. Okay, this is actually not working too badly. It's wobbling around a little bit. You can see as I'm sort of blending, it is moving a little bit, but at the same time, when I pull it up, it's not going far enough that the stencil effect is ruined. However, when I kind of have to keep going in this line for it to work. And if I start going like that, obviously I'm going to ruin it. So to get a really clear, crisp kind of stencil, that's not going to work, which is really kind of annoying. It'll work with something a little bit less flimsy, so without the line. So if you're doing spots, which I've got some other spots, I can I'll show you that in a minute. So what we'll do instead, we'll give this a shot with some glue. So I'm just going to flip this bit of paper over, and obviously we'll have all of the sort of line up of what happened at the end of it when we're finished doing all the experiments. So the other thing I have tried is this spray adhesive. Now, pixie spray is the thing that everywhere I was reading is the thing that everybody said to use. I couldn't find any, I couldn't get my hands on any, so this was something that was suggested as a replacement. So far it's been okay. I do need to use this outside, so what I'm going to do is go out and spray it and then come back and I'll show you how it works. Alright, so you won't be able to see that. I'll try and put in a zoom, but it just looks really, really gluey and tacky now, which you just kind of have to wait until it has become tacky. It's not quite there yet, but it won't be too far away. It doesn't take long. So once it's kind of got to that tacky place, just roll it over, or spin it over, sorry, and we'll stick that down again. You've got to be a little bit more careful now because it's obviously a bit sticky, and it'll do that. So sort of get it into the spot you want it. And then I find using the microfiber cloth a little bit easier here. It means I don't get my fingers sticky because there obviously is just a little bit of tack on the other side as well because we didn't spray it that well. I've also got dog hair all over this, which you live in this house, that's what happens. So that's now stuck, so they're less likely to move. The downside is it's more likely to tear the paper off. I haven't had it do that yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it does it in this video, just to show everybody how I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to blend, I'm just going to do the first couple of rows here. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But you see now I don't have that problem of the stencil moving, so this is a lot easier and it's going to give me a much, much, much crisper finish. But yeah, you got to wait and see what it looks like when we pull it up. Alright, so I'm just going to do that much. And then I'm going to grab hold of this. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, oh, that worked better than I thought it was gonna. Ooh. That's really cool. Now the downside is you're gonna have that residue on there, and I have not yet found a way to get that residue off. I'm wondering if I could clean that off with some undo maybe? I might have to do that as an experiment, but I have been just sticking it down and then cleaning at least the oxide off one side. It does still have that tackiness, but it'll go into a storage spot without too much of a problem. So there we go, that's using acetate ones. I'm gonna really quickly grab out the spotty one. This is how I store all my stencils. I will do a separate video on this if you're interested in it, just let me know. So this is just one I've done that's just got some spots. And I'm just gonna really quickly stick this down because I just want to show you that with something a little bit less, now I feel like I'm cheating because that's got a little bit of tack left on it. So I'm just gonna grab another bit of paper just so that I'm not cheating. So this is still moving a little. I actually moved that, but it doesn't give you the same amount of movement as that really skinny one because it's got a bit more substantive stencil material to kind of hold it still. So that one's giving you a much more defined, but it's still a little bit, it does still move around a little bit. So there we go, that's using acetate. I'm really comfy with acetate. That's where I've been making all my stencils, and like I just very quickly showed you, this is how I've been storing my stencils, but I've got a bunch here. So I've got some hearts, some stripes, and some more spots, and then bits and pieces that I've been using. I have been using these for both ink and for my texture paste. So there's lots of different things to use stencils with. This is what I'm interested in because I saw this at Spotlight and I was just interested. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was for this kind of stencils or if it was for, I don't know what kind of stencils, but I wanted to give it a try. Now it's already not what I expected because it is a lot thinner. I didn't expect it to be a vinyl as such because on the packaging that I got it didn't say vinyl, it didn't say stencil vinyl, it said stencil material. But obviously this is just vinyl. So I'm actually even scared to pull this off because I feel like I need to treat it like vinyl and put it on with transfer tape, which kind of seems to defeat the purpose, but all right. So I'm going to use this transfer tape because I like it better. It's just masking tape really. And I'm just going to make myself a little transfer thing with this and we'll see how we go. So I'll just build that up. Now obviously you can use proper transfer tape for this. It's probably a little bit easier, but I just really like this. I find it comes off a lot easier. Give that a good old rub. Then we'll pull off that backing paper. Now I'm going to hold on to that because obviously we want our stencils to be reusable, and the part of this that's confusing me is how if this is actually reusable, which I don't think it will be. So I'm just going to line this up with the edge of my page. There we go, and then we'll just remove the transfer tape. The other really good thing about this masking tape is that it doesn't tend to take off anything underneath. It's a very light stick, which is why it's so awesome as transfer tape. There we go. So I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm just going to ink this up. So the positive is that it's going to be a really crisp line because that is actually stuck to the paper. The downside is I don't actually know how I'm going to get this off, but we'll give it a shot. Now if you're going to use it again, I think the easiest thing to do would be almost use the transfer tape to pull it up. But if I'm not going to use this again, which I don't know, pulling it up might just be easier. I'm going to try and pull this up so that I could reuse it. It really bad job of putting that tape off to the side, but anyway. I don't even think this transfer tape will get it up, but I'll try. Yeah, I don't think it'll work. It's not sticky enough to pull it up. So I'm just going to try and remove the transfer tape, or the transfer vinyl, sorry, just by pulling it off. I think I'll damage it during trying to do this, but I'm going to give it a try. The good thing is it's not pulling the paper up, so there's the first bonus. And it's a very crisp line, so if you're really worried about the crispness of the blend, sorry, of the stencil, then this is your go. Yeah, she tore. But you're going to ruin your stencil, so it's definitely not going to be a reusable one. And it did pull the paper up, but only a little bit at the edge. But it does give you a really crisp result. That said, I think the result we got from the tacky glue with the acetate stencil is just as good. The only downside is this is smooth as, and this has just a little bit of tack to it. But I think you could get rid of that with just a little bit of powder, and that'd get rid of it. So there we have it. That's the two different kinds of stencil making. There obviously is other plastic that you can use. You don't have to use acetate. I just used acetate because I have some readily available. I think the best method so far that I found for this kind of stenciling, so for stencils where you're using it to either ink or using it to put paste or anything like that, I think the best way so far is using the tacky glue, and I will link it down below if you can't find the pixie paste, pixie dust, pixie spray. I'll get it right. If you can't find the pixie spray like I couldn't, this is from Big W. It was 10 bucks. A reasonably easy to get kind of thing. However, like I said, it does leave a residue on your stencil. This is still tacky now. And if I grab in another one that I've made, that I've used that with, this one here, you can see it's no longer tacky. There's no stick, oh, there's still a little bit of stick stuck on it. But actually, that's been like that for about, that's been not being used for about a week. And I'm interested to see how it would work. Sorry, I just got divulged into another experiment. So I'm just sticking that down. There we go. There's a bonus of it. Yes, it does stay tacky because I haven't got the residue off, but it's been about a week since I used that. And it's still got the tack to the point that it doesn't move and gives me, oh, not quite perfect, but then that's not a very perfect cut. That gives me a pretty good stencil with tack like a week later. So maybe there are positives to leaving the residue on the back. But I really think this way of using it with the tack is the easiest way if you're not worried about it being blurry. If you don't mind the slight blurriness of the outside, then just hold it down and you should be okay. It's not going to be fantastic, but it's also not bad. So that's a bit of a money saving, I guess, tip if you do have yourself a Cricut. The files did cost me money. You can get some that are free, but the best ones I've found so far have all been on paid sites. However, they're not very much. The ones like the Spotty, I think these were $1 US, so what's the $1.50 or something Australian. And then this one with the chevron was like $2 or something from Etsy. Really, really affordable. You can buy whichever patterns you like. You don't have to buy all of them. You can just buy some, and you can definitely bundle them up. And I'll link some of the places that I have bought them from down below, so you can go and check them out if you're interested. Also, let me know if you'd like to see some cards using some of these stencils. I did download quite a few, so I've got a couple there to play with. So I'd love to hear if you want to see any of them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to be subscribed to my channel so you don't miss anything in the future. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend, and I will see you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!